The Bush Doctrine. How far have we come from big stick diplomacy? In the days and months following the September 11th, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center towers in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., a new style of foreign policy began to emerge. It was decided that ideas such as deterrence, which was based on the nuclear arsenals of the United States and the Soviet Union, and containment that both Presidents Truman and Eisenhower had tried to practice, were both relics of the Cold War and needed to be overhauled. In September 2002, President George W. Bush, son of the president who had worked to force Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait back in 1991, announced a new plan that became known as the Bush Doctrine. The plan had three main points. First was preemption, that the United States would attack first if it was believed that there was a threat to its national security. This step states that the belief that there are rogue nations that have access to chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons and will use those against the United States without warning or provocation. Therefore, the United States must step in and prevent these weapons from being used. Second was to act alone if necessary, that the United States would prefer to act with allies and/or the United Nations, but if no other country agrees to join them, then they will do what is necessary to defend the country's national security. This step states that there may be no obvious signs from a rogue nation that they are going to attack, and in fact, these nations may support terrorism as a means to launch that attack. Third was to extend freedom, that the United States must be willing to extend the benefits of freedom across the globe. This step states the United States should advocate for the cause of human rights and must work to guarantee the rule of law, religious freedom, and respect for women anywhere and everywhere. This also means the belief in the growth and development of free market economies, or capitalism, and free trade. President Bush used this doctrine as the justification for the invasion of Iraq in 2003, believing that the country was not living up to the demands of the United Nations, that they were not being cooperative with United Nations inspectors looking for weapons of mass destruction. None of those weapons were ever found, and only at the end of 2011 did President Obama remove most of the combat troops from Iraq. This was also the justification for invading Afghanistan in 2001. The United States was supposed to remove all combat troops from that country in 2014, but an agreement between the two nations in May of 2012 extended that deadline for another 10 years.